Luchasaurus. That's Jungle Boy. And you need to check out All Elite Podcast.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast. You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes, you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
Mr. G, Messiah himself, a man with a huge effing arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. You better.
Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast. It's a little exciting, but we got to start off on a sad note. You might be wondering, why do we have the sad theme? AJ probably is even wondering why we have the sad theme. AJ, Maki Itoh is going home.
Oh, that's right.
She told the fans, simps, it was a good run in AEW, but I'm going home, motherfuckers. It's tough,
that is hard. Truly the second most tragic thing ever to happen in AEW.
They tell you never meet your heroes, and this is why, because they come and they go.
Yep.
We wanted Maki Itoh so bad, and then little did we know the pain that would come.
Luckily,
when she had to go, and of course she had to go.
I have
home,
a feeling we'll
still.
be seeing her again.
Oh yeah, they would be silly not to bring Maki Itoh back, and this is all in good fun, of course. I think that obviously we anticipated Maki Itoh going home, but in the simp nature, we had to be a little bit sad about it. How you doing?
I'm
AJ?
doing good. Just getting back into projects. Got really good news. Not going to go into it too much, but things should be looking up for me.
Sweet, dude. Happy to hear it. I'm doing well. Pretty busy with school, trying to keep up on everything, finish out everything strong. But it's going well. Just very, 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 very busy. So, yeah, that's why this is fun. That's why the podcast is fun. Getting to sit down and talk about AEW is always a nice relaxer compared to everything I have going on. So, yeah. The like I said, the biggest news we have this week is Maki Itoh returning to Japan. There's fortunately not a ton of crazy news. There's a bunch of random Twitter drama going on about Tony Khan showing up on Dark Elevation. But other than that, it's been a good time.
Yeah, there really, like you said, there really hasn't been a ton of news. The Tony Khan thing, I guess that is noteworthy. I'm guessing that's going to be a very rare thing, and they did it probably because of his Dark Elevation.
Shivani already said that. Shivani already said that on Twitter. He said that this isn't going to be something that is consistently done. Tony Khan has mentioned before in the past that he didn't want to do stuff like this, but Kenny Omega was going crazy, so it had to be done. I get the storyline point of it, so I don't anticipate it being a thing consistently. I did think it was kind of a interesting segment. Tony Khan, he makes a weird authority figure anyway, so that's why it totally makes sense that he doesn't want to do it. So, yeah. Not a whole lot of news, but in interesting news, Layla Hirsch has been signed to an official contract. She's your girl.
Did you like Layla Hirsch?
Watching her over a couple of different Dark episodes. You've brought her up. What do you think about this signing?
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, she's still green. I'm not gonna, she's my girl, but I'm not gonna deny the truth. But I think she has a lot of potential. I think the more she's gonna be around in AEW, and now with Dark and Dark Elevation, I think she has a lot more room to get in a lot more matches and grow a lot more. So I think this was a great signing, good scoop up by AEW. Because honest to God, I mean, she could have shined in WWE too, given the right training and treatment.
Yeah, and she's been around for a little while. I looked up her on her cage match and everything, so she's not totally fresh and new, but she definitely is still on the, I guess, greener side, you could say. She's been pretty good in my opinion. Very impressive in the matches I've seen with her. I know some stuff hasn't necessarily been as impressive, but overall I've enjoyed what she's done in AEW. I appreciate the fact that they're bringing in more women officially to the division, because it kind of adds something. I anticipate we'll probably see a lot more from her going forward. She has a match on Dark tonight, and when you hear someone signed, you just kind of get a different feel once they get that all elite stamp on them.
Absolutely, and it's great that she got it, because honestly, like you said, the women's division, it really does feel like it's starting to become a real division again.
Yeah, and she's someone who has been a part of that through the growth process, through the last couple of months especially. She hasn't been a featured talent, but she's been a talent with the featured talent, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So she's been solid. Lot of interesting stuff going on for the women's division. Going back to the pay-per-view a little bit, Revolution, they set a record with 125,000 buys. They had been talking about how this was a significantly better number than previous numbers, and this absolutely is. You're up 25%. Very good number. Hopefully they can consistently pull a number like this. Hopefully this isn't just off of the big announcement and the explosive death match, because both of those things, I think a lot of people would agree, under-delivered. So like, this is a great number, but you don't want it to be just because of those things, right?
Totally agree. Because, I mean, even if you're just on your pay-per-view channel and you see exploding barbed wire deathmatch and you have no idea what AEW is, you might just buy that. Like, it's totally
you
reasonable.
might just buy that, AJ.
That's
I don't know if
I just
everybody.
I feel like, it's like in the 80s when you heard cage match, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. And you hear exploding barbed wire death match, you're like, okay, I gotta see that. So I do get that aspect that might be the case. I don't know that that's the case, because like we were talking about it before, and this was like a stacked card, and we were hyped for this card. Like, it wasn't just the exploding barbed wire death match that made this look like a fantastic card.
You're right, but and everyone would agree that it was a pretty solid show. They did a great job. The only thing is, when you close out a show like that, it's very tough to see. And I think overall people didn't have like a very ultra negative sentiment to it, so I think they'll overcome it. But yeah, it's a tough spot. But a great number. So hopefully they can capitalize off of it and continue to build on it. So. Another interesting bit of news, somewhat related to COVID, the Boston, Philly, and Rochester shows all have been rescheduled. I don't think anyone anticipated they would be occurring when they were scheduled to, but it is cool to have an idea of when they plan to potentially get on the road again, setting these for the fall. I believe the Rochester show is in like late September, so it definitely indicates to me that they plan on getting back on the road, not soon, but they have eyesight on it. I think at the next pay-per-view, the following pay-per-view will be announced for a location outside of Jacksonville.
I agree. I also think these might be like, they're going to do these shows in the fall, most likely, unless something crazy happens. And I think that's going to be kind of like testing the waters a little bit. Like, what's attendance going to be like? Are people going to want to come out to shows even though
and
like,
how
a lot
will
of
it
people
work?
vaccinated?
Because if some of these shows were sellouts and you can't have a sellout capacity crowd, what do you do there? Do you run two separate nights? That could be an answer, but it's a difficult response for the fans, because one show is probably going to be better than the other show, inevitably. Like, that's a difficult situation, because I think that's your only answer, right? If you can't run a full capacity show, you still want to fulfill everybody's tickets. I don't know if these were necessarily sellouts, but they were on a good run of selling a majority of tickets.
They were doing great numbers with ticket sales.
But it is worth noting that if I recall back to that time, not the TV shows were always selling out. So there's a chance that they might be within that capacity area. It is just something worth noting, because they might have to restrict the capacity. They might not. UFC is going to be running in Florida with a full capacity.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be fun.
If all goes relatively well, then this will be a consistent thing that happens. So,
but it's not going to go relatively well.
Who knows, man? I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure.
And that's why I say relatively well, because I don't think it's going to go well. But I think that the UFC and the media and other outlets will find a way to spin it that says it went well. It will. That's what I mean, relatively well. Okay. Because I don't think it's going to go very good at all, but I think it's going to go well enough that this will continue occurring.
Because I heard they're not even gonna have to wear masks in the stadium, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, man, it's different. Stuff is different. So who knows? I don't necessarily have a large opinion on it at all. Fortunately, I'm not in Florida, so I can just wait and see. You are, so I get you're a little bit more concerned about it, and I get that for some people. I hope that it goes as positively as they expect. And then, like I said, maybe these shows in Boston, Philly, and Rochester will be able to be rescheduled at full capacity. And yeah, it's definitely a good note overall for AEW that we're trending in the right direction. This is exciting that in September they still haven't been to New York. That was something that I thought that I recognized a couple weeks ago and was very surprised about, I guess you would say. It's just that they had never been to New York, so now is their opportunity to finally get that one going.
Yeah, no, and that's gonna be kind of a bench. Well, that's up in New York, brother.
Yeah.
That's Vince's territory.
Yeah, well, and it was something that was talked about a lot at that time when the Rochester show was announced, was them
Yeah.
finally getting into that New York market and being able to, test that territory. So this is definitely a good move for them, and hopefully we'll be able to see them finally fulfill that show. It's been so long that Phil has been waiting to attend an AEW
Yeah.
show, so hopefully he'll still be able to do that. Like I said, though, slow news week. We talked a little bit about Tony Khan appearing on Dark Elevation. That really didn't offend me in any way, shape, or form.
No,
I
me
think that
neither.
there's a lot of meme-worthy content from that
Oh,
because
yeah.
Tony is just kind of ranting in a very funny way. It's all very interesting. Dark Elevation. Let's talk about it now. Actually, we might as well. What did you think about it? I know neither one of us were able to catch the entire show. It wasn't necessarily what I expected. I did see a couple of highlight packages. There was one for Lee Johnson that I liked that they did, but I think that they should do it in a different format. Before we get to my whole opinion of it, though, what did you think of what you saw?
First, I have a question for you. Did you think this was going to be 2 hours? Did they say that?
They didn't, but they didn't not say it, I guess.
I was just under the assumption that like they're not gonna do another like 2 hour show like Dark, and they did. I expected an hour long show, and I felt like if this was an hour long show, it would be better by leaps and bounds. I would be way more engaged. The matches would all feel like they matter a lot more. I get it. You want to have a longer show.
When it was that initial card of like 4 or 5 matches,
Yeah.
maybe 6, I was like, this is pretty sweet. Like these are all gonna get time. Each guy is gonna get a little bit of a video package, or maybe not each guy, but enough of the guys. So yeah.
But like I just feel like had this been an hour, had you shortened it down, and it would have been so more engaging. But I understand the playing devil's advocate. It's to elevate new talent, so you want to get talent wrestling.
Well, I don't even know if that's what it is anymore. I think that maybe
That's
the point
true.
of it is to elevate that mid card area of the card because from what I saw, it was like Jungle Boy, Big Swole, QT Marshall, like a lot of people
Danny
that
Limelight
that you want to see get legitimate victories, and maybe Dark is going to become that show for emphasizing the talent that isn't signed, and that would make a little bit more sense to me
Sure.
based on even based upon putting it on Monday nights, kind of competing, not actually competing, but on Monday nights adjacent to Raw. You will want your more well-known talent to be seen on that night. So
regardless, my devil's advocate thing was just more time, more matches, more people getting ring work. Especially during COVID where you can't do that. Let's let people tour the indies except Janela, I guess. It's a tough call, but I would way prefer it if it was an hour. That was my main takeaway. I thought Paul White was good. I like him on commentary, and apparently at some point he's going to do some wrestling. So I feel like it's going to be a good segue whenever he eventually does. But like you said, it's kind of like Dark.
yeah, and that's my and again, once I saw the video package, I was like, okay, I do understand that there's a little bit more to this, but if it was shorter, that video package would have just meant more to me. I feel like I feel like more people would have probably consumed that video package because at that point in the show, you might be a little bit tuned out. You might not be totally in tune with what's going on. I was glad to see it, especially for Lee Johnson because he's someone who
That was really good.
they have emphasized on. But I would have liked to have seen him then be in a match right afterwards. That to me is what makes sense. That makes so much sense. And instead, they're doing it in their own fashion, and I can understand wanting to try something your own way, but I really just think that it doesn't work that way. I think there's a reason that there's a recipe. You see it on all of these TV shows, like not wrestling shows, but like American Idol and stuff, where you get that introduction to a character, and then
Even
you see them
UFC,
perform.
Yeah.
You're definitely right. UFC, they do the same exact thing. So it does happen. And I think that it would be very cool to see on this Elevation show. And I think they're kind of getting into that. I think that we still have to give it time to see what this fleshes out to. I've seen a lot of people trying to critique Paul White. That's weird to me. Like, give a guy
weird.
some time to really get into
He's
this
never really
position.
been a commentator before, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that if your expectation is for him and Shivani to be Excalibur and Taz, that's never going to happen. Excalibur and Taz have their own incredible, unique way of calling matches and calling Dark that is very fun to tune into. Like I've said in the past, it's almost like listening to just a fun podcast of two guys just talking shit. These guys are doing a good job at really giving you important information, statistics on the talent. Like at one point they talked about how Jungle Boy had like 61 matches up to this point in AEW. That was his 34th victory or something. Like very, very important numbers that you don't really hear on any other part of AEW programming that they did on Dark that I did like, or Dark Elevation, I should say.
Yeah, and I like that really they were. I know Paul White needs to come into the color commentary more, but I really like commentary that is focused on the match and just treating it like a sport. Like when Mauro and I forget his name were doing Access for New Japan, they weren't like, it wasn't Mamma Mia Mauro, it was just calling it like a sport, and I really enjoyed that because they were treating it almost like MMA, and I got that kind of vibe. I know Paul White's going to come into more of a color commentator vibe, but I really like that he was just commenting on like, man, he could have done better on that pin, and he has wrist control here, and going off of Tony working, just doing play by play. And I really enjoyed it. So I don't understand why people would be critiquing Paul White. I guess maybe he's not as animated as they had hoped, but I thought that's fine. He's playing a serious commentator.
Yeah, and coming from a guy who has been watching a little bit of old school WCW, it's super nice to have them pay attention to what's going on in the ring and give you the match. Listening back and watching back some old WCW stuff, it's just very funny to even consider the fact that there are comparisons between the two products, because it's just amazing. Like that commentary, they're not paying any attention to the product.
Yeah, they're talking about every like NWO every match.
Yeah, so this was good. I think that they did a good job. I want to see it. I want to give it a little bit more time before I really give it a full critique, because there's stuff I don't like. I'm not going to lie. I don't love that this is a 2-hour product. I don't love that they're not using highlight packages ahead of matches that people are going to be in. Like, I hope that they shift some of this stuff. Otherwise, in the coming weeks, I will probably not like it as much. I think that they put on a pretty good show. Like this isn't, I wouldn't say that this is like comparative to WWE Raw, or like it should be competing with it, but as an AEW fan, this is a perfect alternative for me to have on Monday nights when I don't want to watch Raw. I can just sort of throw this on, catch the guys I want to catch, and enjoy the product for what it is. I think they've got something pretty good here if they allow themselves to flesh it out more.
You know what it kind of feels like to me? It kind of feels like New Japan Strong, where it's a lot of, like indie guys, but indie guys you recognize. And then there's some talent that who are like a part of the company. And then there's like at least like one big name. Like that's kind of how it played out. It kind of played out like an episode of New Japan Strong.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen much New Japan Strong, so I'll take your word for it. But yeah, I think that they need to do a little bit more to separate it from Dark, maybe. And the reason I say maybe is because it does share the same name, so you technically don't have to. But it is a lot to have this 2-hour product, Dark to be a 2-hour product, Dynamite to be a 2-hour product, and not necessarily utilizing any of the time on any of those shows to really give us a deep dive on the roster, on just who they are. Not necessarily storylines, not necessarily like them having
just their background.
Issues, but yeah, just their background, what they like to do, who they are, just beyond what we see on television. And that doesn't need to necessarily even be real life who they are, but who their character is. Like,
a brief biography.
Yeah, exactly. I think that stuff, they could utilize 1 hour of the now 6 that they're using for that. I would like that, but
I would love that.
I don't have any complaints on it though. I think Dark Elevation is good. Let's go ahead and give our Dark sleeper picks for tonight while we're on the topic of Dark. Mine is going to be John Silver versus John Skyler this match. I'm just big on John Silver right now. I'm like, every time I see him in the ring, I grow as a fan of his, which is awesome because I started as a fan of his because of being the Elite and is a obnoxious character on there. And it's just grown so much that when he's now in the ring, essentially, like, I don't want to call it a Daniel Bryan comparison, but that's kind of what
it's
he
similar
does a
because
lot.
of the burst of energy.
But he does it very, very well. It's super entertaining. I've enjoyed his matches very much, and I kind of confuse him with this John Skyler guy a lot because their names are super similar. So I'm glad that they're having this match because maybe it will just remove all of that issue for me going forward. And John Skyler actually is a guy who last year June tore his ACL in an AEW ring. It's very cool to see them bring him back. He's been back for a couple of weeks now, so this isn't his return. But I noticed that in looking up him. So
Yeah, I was almost gonna pick John Silver versus John Scholar for the same reason. I'm big on John Silver lately. But I picked Penelope Ford versus Tessa Price, and you said bad pick, and I knew you would. But I have a reason, because as we saw on the pay-per-view, whenever Miro didn't let her in the ring, that planted a seed. And then on Elevation, like he knocked her out of the ring. In Elevation, he wouldn't let her in the ring. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of invested in this Penelope Ford Miro thing, and I feel like something's gonna happen, and I want to see it.
I have a take on this, and I wish I could be, and I'm glad that I wish I could be, but under the circumstances, I'm glad that I'm not, and here's why. Because the whole Penelope Ford thing, like, I would be probably pretty into this storyline if it wasn't for that scumbag Jim Cornette getting Miro all riled up, Penelope and Kip saying everything and here's why. Because Miro is on social media defending her, and I'm very glad he is. I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I'm very glad he is. It's very cool that he did. But then when this is the storyline, it's like just very conflicting. I absolutely
I forgot, actually.
and it will probably be something in the next week or two will wear off, and I won't care as much. But when I saw that on Dark Elevation, that was my first thought. Is I was like, man, this would be such a good storyline if it wasn't for that scumbag Jim Cornette saying a bunch of shitty stuff and Miro sticking up for Penelope. By no means do I think that Miro was wrong for doing that. I don't think he should worry about his character or anything. But it hurts the situation for me a little bit, and I think that in the next couple weeks I'll get over it. But I would honestly rather them just like flip it now. But that would be too reactionary to just what's going on in the real world. Miro's supposed to be a heel, so I don't blame him for reacting. And again, but that's just what has taken me out of that storyline a little bit. But I figured that's why you picked it, and it's still a solid pick. I just think that we should also highlight the fact Layla Hirsch has a match on Dark tonight, so that's very cool. After getting signed, I anticipate her. This is kind of what I was talking about when you see so and so is all elite. You get the feeling that they're no longer just going to be a job person, and that's just because, for lack of a better term, that's all I can think of to say for them. But that's what she kind of has been up to this point. I anticipate maybe she'll get more victories now. Same thing with the captain. We saw him, Sean Dean is his name, I believe, right? He got signed over the last couple of weeks, and he's someone who has like an 0-50 record in AEW, but he's signed, so I anticipate now maybe he'll get a couple of victories under his belt. Not any significant ones, but those
I understand where you're
superstars
coming at.
are like similar to Marco. He's a great example who gets wins here and there in tag team matches or whatever. So that way, when they do lose, Joey Janela, another example. When they do lose, it's a little bit more impressive. Like Joey and Sonny are up against Brian Cage and Ricky Starks on this Dark as well. That's an obvious win for Starks and Cage, but Janela and Sonny are worthwhile opponents for them on Dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it all works out.
No, it makes perfect sense.
It makes sense. So that's what we've got for Dark this week. We talked about Dark Elevation. I'm excited to see where they go with it. I hope that they can lessen the match count. I understand why they want to go 2 hours, though, especially up against Raw. You can pull in a lot more viewers. The social media thing.
Yeah.
I just, I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's where I'm at, too. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Because I do like Dark, and I do like what I saw from Dark Elevation, so I really can't say I have complaints outside of the fact that I was anticipating something else, and I don't really blame people on social media because I've seen it all week long being like, well, what is Dark Elevation compared to Dark? Like, what's the difference? And in my head, I've been saying, well, they're going to do something different. They're going to do something different with video packages. They did that a little bit. I want to see it a little bit more. So.
And also, to your point earlier, it should just be called AEW Elevation because they call it AEW Elevation. The hashtag is AEW Elevation, and like, just call it that.
I think TNT had like told Tony Khan that he should call it Dark Elevation because they're still the same thing. Like, they don't want people thinking that it's like a third show or something like that. Okay. So I do agree though that it still is a little bit weird. But I like Dark Elevation. But give your guys give your guys' production team a little bit more work. Have them make a couple more videos, and let's get a little bit more insight on the roster on this show.
For sure.
Now it's time for my favorite Facebook hot takes. I love getting these Facebook hot takes because I go on the AEW wrestling groups on Facebook, get a couple of people's conversations, see what they're saying. This one is interesting. Tyler asked a question, and we got a couple of responses this week. So Tyler asks, so I always see in comments, this wrestler sucks, but never a decent explanations. So which AEW talent do not like or think is straight up terrible, and why? So we know that these are going to be some great responses here. Right?
Oh yeah.
First of all, the wording on the OP is just awful. He had a couple issues. Don't blame him. It is what it is, brother. But a little bit rough to read. And so it's terrible wrestlers. First one, I can't argue too much though. Chris says pretty much just Vicky Guerrero because the sound of her voice makes me cringe.
Yeah, I don't like Vicky. I don't think she really adds anything to Nyla. I don't really think it does anything.
I think she does. I think she's a good.
I thought her slapping Nyla was like, and then they just never talked about it again. And I'm just like, so.
I think I think it was okay. Like I think they realized that it was kind of weird, so people didn't receive it very well, so they just kind of moved on from it. And
that's fair. I guess when you look at it that way, yeah.
I think that Vicky's been an okay mouthpiece. I like she's a heel, so she's not someone that I love on the show. But her placement with Nyla actually feels pretty natural and like good to me, so it works out.
I don't necessarily mind it. I wouldn't prefer it. So I'm not gonna say, oh, I hate Vicky Guerrero, fire her. I'm not agreeing with Chris that hard.
No, yeah, definitely not.
I'm not a big fan.
I'm glad that Chris has worked that hard though, because there were some really shitty responses, and I didn't really dig too deep on those ones. I got some fun ones though, and another one that I think we're both going to agree with. This guy Robert says, I think the only one I don't really care about is Hager. I love amateur wrestling, but somehow he makes that style look boring outside of a few moves. If he would be less stoic and more aggressive, I could really dig him. And that's a sentiment we've shared on this podcast plenty of times.
But yes and no, because like as a heater, he does his job very well, because he doesn't really wrestle that often. Like it's few and in between, so it's hard for me to like be like I hate him, because it's like he sucks, because like I barely see him wrestle. He wins. I don't love the match, but I don't hate the match, and that's about it. I feel like when he was Jack Swagger in WWE, maybe he was more athletic or something. I feel like he was running around a lot more, had a lot more energy, and I like that a lot more. And if he could bring that back, I know he's playing into the MMA thing, so he's not going to do that, but I really feel like he should.
I think it's a little bit of playing into the MMA thing, as well as maybe just a little bit of like he's a heel, you know what I mean? So he's not going to be and he's not going to be the main guy, so you don't want him just running through people, because people would people want to see that once it starts
Completely
happening.
fair.
So, but I think that if we get it at some point, because again, this is something I've been asking for, especially like I want to see him be kind of that Brock Lesnar type where he comes in and just dominates and destroys, because it would be very believable. He could easily be that character. It's almost a bummer he hasn't been up to this point, because I feel like they're running out of time where I would be okay with that, because they are adding so many talented people. So many people are becoming elevated. But like I wouldn't even mind seeing like a return to a feud with him and Hangman, now that I'm a little bit more into Hangman, and if Hager would actually bring that aggression. Now, if not, then it's a little bit harder to say I want that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This next one I'm not agreeing with at all. Tim says Colt Cabana is useless and as corny as Joey Janela is. Get out of here, Tim.
Shut up.
Colt Cabana is a legend. He's actually probably one of the more useful talent on the roster in terms of like having that ability to help. And they have so many different people that can fit that role. But I think Colt is a great person from that independent perspective of just calling matches and setting up matches and stuff like that. Like this was one that I definitely didn't agree with. And there were plenty of Joey Janela haters on this thread that we didn't have enough energy for that.
What's this guy's name? Tim?
Tim, yeah. Tim the Tool.
I bet it's a suit. I bet it's a pen name. It's Jim. It's Jim Cornette, dude.
Oh, dude, you're right. That's why there were a lot of Jelly Nutella ones, man. There's a lot of Joey Janela hate out there. And I don't get it, because I'm a fan of Joey's, but at the same time, like, it's something so many different outlets do and so many different people do. Like, it's the cool thing to do almost at this point, to try and shit on Joey Janela. And they really haven't given him much of an opportunity to get outside of that. beyond when he does these hardcore matches with Kenny and stuff, and even that was a long time ago. So I would love to see him get an opportunity to kind of shine, because he was really in a good position almost a year ago when he did that lights out match with Kenny, and now it's kind of been a little bit rough for him. So yeah, exactly. This last one you're not gonna love, dude.
No, I hate it already.
Dave says Eddie Kingston is a perfect example for this post. Here's why. His flabby ass physique. He obviously doesn't work out, and his ability is minimal at best. So he doesn't use the performance center very often either. Kingston wants to be considered among the greats, but he doesn't put any work into it. What a hater, dude. What performance center?
Oh my god. Performance. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? Number one, performance. Is this WWE? Do you want him to go to the Nightmare Factory and shed some pounds? The dude has been wrestling
he
for like, what,
can
20
go to the
fucking
Jaguars
years?
training facility, but that's beyond the point. He
Like-
called it
like,
the performance center.
His ability is minimal at best. Dude, he's doing like backdrop drivers and crazy ass shit, and like he's fucking amazing. What the fuck are you talking about, you dumbass?
Yeah, I agree.
I'll reply to him. I'll find the Facebook post and call him an idiot.
Yeah, dude, because I'm a huge Kingston guy now, especially. I can get, I guess, the issue with his physique to a very minimal extent.
He looks gritty. He looks like a barroom brawler.
You're not wrong, but I don't know if my barroom brawlers should be on AEW TV or not. That's another story for another day. I think he's
that's a
great.
Good fit for a wrestler.
I think he's great, but there is something to the problem. Maybe not with his physique.
I don't want
but it's
every
just
wrestler to look like a fucking golden Greek god. I want them to look fat and big and small and weird and ugly and mean.
I agree. I'm not saying he needs to look like a golden Greek god either. Because you're so right. Like, it is just kind of like the New York style, but it's almost like my bigger issue is the fact that he's stuck in like the 90s where he's wearing like big baggy shit. So it's not
okay. That's absolutely fair. His dress is very weird.
But it also is a part of the character. So at the same time, like, I don't agree with this guy at all in terms of the physique or anything. It's just like I can understand where people come from, because there's a lot of people who have that Vince McMahon mindset, but I don't. I just think it's the baggy stuff that bothers me the most. But I love Kingston, so it doesn't even bother me that bad. That's our Facebook hot takes for this week. I didn't get any other deep hot takes. Those were just the what wrestler sucks in AEW. And I honestly, if we honestly had to give an answer of maybe a member of the roster who I would say that they could get rid of, or that isn't really even worth it. Like, I can't name anybody. I would have a couple of different names I would like to see brought in. There's no one on this roster that offends me that they're a part of the roster, because the lower card talent are treated as such, like the enhancement talent are treated as such. A lot, like, I appreciate the guys that they've given opportunities to. Not all of them are my favorite by any means. There's quite a few guys I'm not huge on. But there was someone even bitching about Peter Avalon and stuff, and I'm like, I like what he's doing right now.
I like Peter Avalon.
So,
I'm trying to think of anyone who, because I was gonna say, like, maybe there's somebody who, like, if they left, I would be sad, but like, or I wouldn't be sad, but like, I can't even think of any. I like the roster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and there's definitely people that we probably aren't thinking about that just aren't super key players yet. But even a lot of these guys, like, I don't know, even a lot of the guys that I've been covering on the Shining a Light, like Aaron Solo and stuff like that, I've become more akin to liking just because I've gotten a deeper dive on them. So I know that doesn't apply to every fan, but I think that's why I have such a desire for AEW to do like those packages, you know what I mean? Because the more I learned, like this week's was about Fuego del Sol, and you guys can check that out on WrestleJoy.com. We got a nice little shining a light on Fuego del Sol, and I learned a lot about him. Like, he was a backyard wrestler, and their backyard channel had like 300,000 views on certain videos. One video had 2 million views. Like, you might have even heard of it, dude. It's like some KBW stuff. I'm like, man,
it does sound familiar.
I wish I was doing it. And he's like a year younger than I am. There's a lot to Fuego del Sol's story that I was just really pumped to learn. So yeah, even the lower card guys, like, I'm not necessarily sold on them and saying that they should be the world champion, but there's no one on this roster who I'm like, they should fire that guy.
Yeah, that's really tough for me. I
will say I don't love Luther or Serpentico, and don't really have a whole lot of
Luther. I'll agree with Serpentico. I'm biased.
He gets loaded in with poor Luther, so it's not even his fault. But he's someone I'm really not super big on either. Now maybe if they could bring in Amasis and that Ophidian or whatever and team them with Serpentico, then we got a little snaky stable.
That would be great, actually. Yeah, they should do that. What's Ophidian doing? Get the fuck on it, Tony.
Exactly, dude. So, but honestly, like I don't even have because Luther's not featured at all. I have no issue with him being on the roster, and that's same with that other dude. That's Kenny Omega's little buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The oil guy, you know who I'm talking about. Michael Nakazawa. Yeah, he's the other one. He's the other one that I don't love. I wouldn't say that he should be fired, but I think
he has his moments, like on Elevation.
Yeah. So
Like he's a jobber. That's it. Like it's not like he's supposed to do anything really cool.
He's a jobber with a gimmick and it's not like offensive. I just hate it. It's just obnoxious. His gimmick just blows my mind. That's all. But that's what we got. That's what we got for hot takes this week. Facebook hot takes. Go ahead, shoot us a message who you think you don't love on AEW if you got one, and if you got someone that you think should be signed, let us know who that is too.
Or if you just have a hot take, let us know. We'll reply to it.
Maybe we'll feature it if it's like hot enough.
We need
it's
got to be a real hot
takes.
take. It's got to be spicy takes.
Spicy takes. Well, let's talk about Dynamite now, AJ. We'll give a quick rundown of the card, maybe some predictions on what we think is going to happen or whatnot. Jade Cargill is going to be in action, and I am pumped for this because this is a great opportunity to follow up on that tag team match. Where if she impresses here, dude, I am all in. I will put all my chips on the table every time she has a match. I'll be pumped for it. I won't be mad if she falls a little short. If they're like, I won't even be mad if it's just a shit show because that's what we expected in the first place.
Yeah.
But if it's anything above that, man, I'm in.
Yep. I'm same here. I'm like Jade Cargill delivered in her first match, and also she won major points with me just from the Vero Beach thing. Like when I found out she was from Vero Beach, I was like, "Hey, I'm here. That's cool."
What a mark!
I'm a mark, yeah, totally. But like, it totally gained points with me. I was like, "This is great," and she's huge and she's athletic, and I'm really looking forward to see what she does.
I'm excited for it because I was early on the Jade Cargill thing.
You were.
I don't want to say like I was the first
I was
day,
not.
but I was pretty early on it, well before her first match, where I was like, this could be good. She's got a great look. I like what they could have here, and so far it's paid off. Where I'm like, all right, and that's where I'm excited about this match for Dynamite. Is if she has a good match, there you have it. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
Like Layla Hirsch is my girl. Jade Cargill is definitely your girl.
Oh yeah, for sure. And she will, like I said, it could just totally be a train wreck, and then from there we'll see where it goes. But for right now, I'm very excited. Something else we have to see where it goes is MJF's situation after leaving the Inner Circle. I believe they're going to get an official stable name for this group, so that's cool. We'll get more from MJF. I don't know what to expect here. Probably another brawl, I would anticipate.
Like if this might close out the show. I don't know. Like this, we could really get anything here. We could get a brawl. We could just get them.
I would love to see it open the show. I would love to see it because they don't do it a lot. They almost ever, where there's a segment to open the show.
Yeah,
it would probably pop a really good number because people are going to be interested in what's going on with this, and you could possibly even potentially build a match the way WWE does at the end of the show between like a tag team, two tag teams. You know what I mean? Like,
or even just announce Blood and Guts if you want. I don't know if you want to do that yet though, but like there's a lot of avenues here. I fully expect them to not have Horsemen in the name. I feel like that's not going to happen, but. I do really like this team. I really like this angle. I had no idea this was coming, and really the whole way through, like since MJF got in the Inner Circle, I think I've said the same thing over and over again. And I hate to say it again, but I have had no idea what's gonna happen, and I just know it's gonna be good, and that's it every time. Every time I'm in totally clueless, no idea what the fuck they're gonna go with, and it always delivers, and I fully expect this to deliver big because this is the formation of a new heel stable in AEW. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it is absolutely a big deal, so I agree with you there. That's why I'm very excited about it too, to see kind of what they're doing with it. And I agree with you. I haven't had a clue where they were going with it, even though they have foreshadowed bits and pieces of it. So I like what they've been able to do here. Because they've made me speculate and guess, and now we're kind of really getting what it is. You know what I mean? And we've talked about that since the first Jericho MJF interaction. We're like, these are very small, minute things, but they're going to mean something over time, and we have seen that it did mean something over time. And I'm sure if we even went back, we would see even more from those segments that we didn't even catch initially. So I anticipate some really good stuff for this segment as well. Next match we got is Jurassic Express teaming with Bear Country versus Matt Hardy, Private Party, The Butcher, and The Blade. I'm saying that I don't. Who do you pick in this match, AJ? Honestly.
Hardy's team for sure. I feel like. I feel like I get it. You don't want Jungle Boy to lose again. I get it. We all don't want Jungle Boy to lose again, but he's going to lose again because the point is we have to build up this team to face Dark Order.
You're right. You're 100% right. And that's why I can't disagree with you at all. Hopefully Bear Country and Jurassic Express look good, and I imagine they will look good coming out of this. This is a interesting match because it kind of like it's not a lot of fresh faces, but it's a lot of like self-built faces, you could say. Private Party, The Butcher and the Blade, Jurassic Express, all been built within AEW. Bear Country, still very fresh face being built within AEW. Not totally sure how I feel about them. We'll see what comes out of this match. And who knows, maybe there'll be something a little bit more to it. On paper, it's not something, I'm not writing it off, but it's not necessarily the match on the card I'm most looking forward to, that's for sure.
Yeah, same here.
It's a good little multi-man match, though, to get people
involved.
involved.
It'll be fun. I think undoubtedly it'll be fun. But and maybe the Dark Order gets involved and something does happen. Who knows? But I'm not expecting that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
And the next match we have Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley teaming up to take on the Good Brothers. This is very exciting. The Good Brothers recently lost their Impact Tag Team Championships, so who knows where this one will go.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I expect Eddie and in my mind the right winners would be Eddie and Mox. Because like if you're building Eddie and Mox anywhere near the title, which I don't know if they are, but I think they are with Eddie, then you want to probably have them get the win over the heaters, the lackeys from Kenny here.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's what makes the most sense to me, Eddie Kingston and Moxley. I don't really see a situation that makes sense for the Good Brothers to win this, especially now that they don't have the Impact Tag Team titles. There's really nothing that tells me that they should beat Eddie Kingston and Moxley. But it should be a lot of fun, honestly, a lot of fun with these four guys. So this next match is the one I'm most and it's
Absolutely.
tough to say. I don't want to even say I'm most looking forward to it because honestly the main event is really great too. But I'm super pumped for this. Cody Rhodes taking on Pentagon, Penta El Zero Miedo. I'm excited to see this. I'm a big Penta fan. This should be a great opportunity for him to really get to shine as a singles competitor. Hopefully this match goes decently long. I hope that there's a storyline that can come out of this and they can continue
Penta
it.
better win.
I kind of am going back to, and if I'm predicting, I'm going to say Penta wins, or if he doesn't win, then he destroys Cody's arm. Either way, he's destroying Cody's shoulder.
Yes, 100%.
We know Cody's shoulder's injured. Penta is the perfect person who makes sense to destroy his shoulder. Honestly, they have so much talent and so much going on Dynamite right now that they should just write Cody off. Like, Penta should destroy Cody's arm and then go feud with somebody else or something. Like I would say he should challenge Darby for the title, but Darby's currently got something going on with Scorpio. So
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. But like Penta needs to do that. He also, I feel like it would behoove them if not only he destroyed his shoulder, but also won. Because, and I know, okay, listen, I get it. Like, people say Cody wins, LOL. He really doesn't. Like, he doesn't put himself over all the time. And I'm not the guy who's like, oh, Cody's gonna definitely win the ladder match, or oh, Cody's definitely gonna beat Darby. I've never been that guy.
Right.
But in this case, if Cody wins, I'm gonna meme it up and say Cody wins, LOL, and all that shit. I'm gonna be one of those people.
Because we're Penta guys,
just for one night.
Because we're Penta guys.
Yep.
That's why. So yeah, that's why I'm excited about this one though. I was honestly unsure and wouldn't have ever really had an issue with AEW for not necessarily pursuing this avenue with Penta as a singles competitor, just because. And I don't think he's that old, but he's getting a little bit up there in his career where keeping him as a tag team with Phoenix might make more sense because that's what puts them over the most. But I think if you give him a real opportunity here to look like a main event legit guy like they did last week, he can be great. So that's what I'm expecting.
He's only a year older than Cody, apparently.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think he was that old. I just think that I just wouldn't blame him because he's had runs with Lucha Underground and with other companies. Like, there's just something about him. Like, I really, really like him, but I understand not wanting to put him in your main event scene. But I feel like if you do put him in your main event scene, he can shine. Like, and that's all I can. Maybe it's. I don't know.
I agree. No,
So,
I totally agree. I think he can absolutely be a top guy in AEW. And the same sentiment goes to Ray Phoenix and Pac, actually. I
mhm.
think all three of those guys could easily be slotted into the main event whenever they need to be slotted into the main event, and it's no issue. And I'm not even saying he's going to the main event right now. It's probably going to be an upper mid card kind of thing because Kenny's going to be doing whatever Kenny's going to be doing. But
They could have such a nice run with this though, where they
they
really
could.
could have him slotted as one of the upper mid card top heels, and they kind of have mentioned that they're lacking in that department to an extent. So
Yep.
I would love to see it, especially for Penta. I think that, and I think my biggest reason of thinking they might not ever go that singles way is because they did start off as a tag team, and it's tough to get out of that position without doing the inevitable feud thing.
I think
But we're
you're
not
wrong
getting it.
because I don't think like they already have that like haven't they already done that anyways?
What
Like
do you mean?
haven't Penta and Ray Phoenix like feuded before?
Yeah, and I'm just saying like that would have been my expectation in general with AEW is that they would have broken up and had a feud. And I'm not saying that
Oh.
that wouldn't happen. I'm just saying like I didn't anticipate AEW doing that anytime soon. So at that point, I didn't think they would get singles runs because I'm not really used to seeing this in other companies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where a tag team really gets an opportunity to still shine as singles outside of their tag team without splitting up. So
And I feel like they have so many tag teams right now, like they have such a deep tag team division that they can do that. And also, it doesn't even take Phoenix out of the equation because he's with Pac.
yeah, they've done a great job with that division and with that group in general. So, yeah, that's what makes me most excited for Penta to really get this opportunity. It wasn't something I had expected, but as a fan of his, I'm very excited about it. And another thing I didn't necessarily expect until it was brought up in that post-show Q&A with Tony Khan is this main event match we're getting, the unsanctioned match, Dr. Britt Baker taking on Thunder Rosa. In the main event, the first time women will be main eventing AEW Dynamite, so a very cool position for these two women. This should be a pretty brutal brawl. I anticipate both of these women to probably bring it in this position, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Thunder Rosa is amazing. Britt Baker, I think, is really good. And I think these two, like you said, are going to go all out. They are going to put everything out there. They're going to do some crazy shit, and it's going to be a brawl. And I expect them to make it, because like this is, like you said, the first time women have main evented in AEW. And I feel like they're going to have that pressure on them, and with that pressure on them, they're going to deliver all the more. I honest to God think this could be the match of the night, even with Cody and Penta on the card, which I'm not saying it will be, because Cody and Penta is a high bar. It's a really high bar.
yeah,
I'm just
but this
saying I think it's
unsanctioned match,
possible.
they have an opportunity to really do some crazy stuff, and I don't necessarily anticipate them to get too crazy, but it probably will get a little bit outside the box of what we're used to seeing with these two
Yeah.
for sure. I anticipate this to be a very entertaining match and very good for both women, and very interesting to see Thunder Rosa, the one in this position, main eventing a Dynamite, despite not being an official AEW
true.
talent, at least not yet, you would say. I think a lot of people are speculating that it is an inevitable thing for her to go elsewhere, maybe not AEW, but outside of the NWA. So... but it is very interesting for her to be put in this position in the main event role. I do expect Britt to probably pick up the victory, and Thunder Rosa will have a great match with her, so that it makes sense to have her in the role, but it's not what I expected.
Absolutely. No, I didn't either, but I'm totally fine with it. I mean, hands down, if you're going to put a gun to my head and be like, who's the best women's wrestler in AEW? It's either Thunder Rosa or Hikaru Shida, and I lean towards Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, and that's an even more interesting fact as you bring that up is like Hikaru Shida also not involved in this main event match, and that's interesting to me because you know she's the champion. You know, obviously that's one reason, and because like my first thought of the two people who make sense in this is Thunder Rosa and Rio because they're both two very, very highly touted women's wrestlers as well, and Hikaru Shida again is another one that fits into that realm. So good on Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa for getting this opportunity. Should be a very interesting match. I do expect there to be some interferences here and there, so maybe they won't be the only two women featured in the long run, but this should be great, and who knows what we'll see here.
Absolutely. I don't know what we're going to expect, but I'm excited for it. Like, this is a great card. Like we talk about it a lot. Wow, Dynamite has such a great card. Blah blah blah. I know we're fucking broken record, but this is a really great Dynamite card. And last week was a really great Dynamite card. Like it's been like we're not like positive. Oh, everything about AEW is great people. We're just realistic dudes who like wrestling. And when it comes down to it, like AEW has just actually been delivering for the past few months. Like the past 3 months, it's been bangers. And so what are we gonna do? Like pretend it's bad? No, fuck that. It's great.
Yeah, I mean we kept it real with the Jurassic Express match and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's, and that's why the Jade Cargill thing has been so key right now, is because she delivered in such a way that would probably be the negative selling point if it wasn't so well done in the initial time it's been that she had a match. So I think that they're in a great position with AEW. Dynamite has been very entertaining. Everything has been very well done. So that's why there's just nothing really to complain about. And this match card is so well done that it just gets progressively better. Like the bottom half isn't what sells it. It's the main event. It's the match of Cody and Penta, and then you get Mox and Kingston teaming up for the first time. Like there's a lot on this card that sells me, but I'm very excited. So, and they do a great job with this, with Dynamite set. Like, there's no pay-per-view necessarily. There's no implications right now of what's going on. They're still building to what's coming next. And if anything, Kenny's building to a storyline feud right now with what's your boy's name? Rich Swann over in Impact.
Rich Swann, yeah.
So, and that's what's going on right now for Kenny. Like, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of cross promotion for that match, because that pay-per-view comes in April, and we might see some Rich Swann in AEW before too long.
I believe so. I think it would be ridiculous if we didn't, actually.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that storyline too is very interesting. The ability to do the crossover match and the crossover promotion. Who knows? Maybe Rich Swann wins it all because Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley screw over Kenny Omega. I'm not anticipating it.
No, me neither. But who knows?
Things.
I mean, it's a title match. It's a big title match. It's in a major event. I think it's gonna matter. So like nobody should discount it or discredit it. Like when he was defending the Mega Championship, I wasn't like, oh, he's definitely going to win. I was like, it's Triple A, I don't know.
Even though he is the belt collector and he is the champion of the promotion, like that we are the big fans of. So it's not remiss of us to say he's probably going to win. Like,
and of course, I do think he's going to win because Moose will come to reclaim the title back.
Oh my God, the freaking, how do you do it every week? Every week we almost get to the end of the show and you shout out that boy Moose. You're probably right there, too. So, yeah. But AEW's got some good stuff going on. The relationship with Impact continues, and that's been very well done. So, yeah, I think we're in a good position with Dynamite. I'm excited to see what we get this week with Dynamite because, it's an interesting card, especially just because we're fresh off of all the excitement. The pay-per-view is already come and gone. The post-pay-per-view, we're gonna have Christian involved as well. Like maybe he interjects himself in that Impact title match. He used to be TNA champion. Maybe he has some claim to the throne still that everybody's forgotten.
Now that you say that makes a lot of sense. I'm scared for my boy Moose. So no.
Yeah. So. We've had some good stuff here this week. We don't really have anything else to cover. We might have forgot one or two news bits that hopefully weren't that important. We remembered to get that Rich Swann and Kenny Omega news in there. So we got everything settled. AJ, let them know where to find you.
You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at AJTheFitzy. And that's it, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TooSweetElite. You can find me on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. You can find the Facebook at Facebook.com/AllElitePodcast. We're on YouTube at YouTube.com/AllElitePodcast. And if you make it this far into the episode every week, brothers, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're also on Twitter at AllElitePodcast and Instagram at AllEliteEverything. We are still finalizing getting the last of those giveaways sent out. I've been waiting on a good brother to get me his address sent. Haven't gotten his address, so we'll probably run another giveaway after Dynamite this week just to get that one taken care of. And yeah, so and AJ's got his Nick Jackson over there. So we keep in touch with the Twitter for that. Keep up to date with all that. We like to do the giveaways and stuff. Shout out to our boy Zevo. We're gonna be getting that one in the mail tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, thank you guys for continuing to support the podcast. We will be back on Thursday to discuss Dynamite and everything that occurs. Until then, see you later.
Bye.